Good morning, everyone. In the last session, we discussed about what is Spring Security and how to work with basic authentication with default credentials, how to override the default credentials by using properties file, and how to secure specific URL patterns in our application, and how to customize security filter chain in the application, and what is in-memory authentication, and how to implement consumer application to access a secured provider by using REST template and web client, how to send basic authentication details in the request header, and how to develop the application with login and registration by using Spring Security with the help of user details service, authentication provider, authentication manager, all the details we have seen in the last session. So here mainly when it comes to the Spring Security login and registration functionality, this is the execution flow that we are able to see. Now, the REST controller is having the methods login and registration. When the request comes to the REST controller, it will talk to authentication manager for login details. Authentication manager will take that username and password in the form of one token and will call authenticate method. Authenticate method internally talking to DAO authentication provider who is giving the user details, service information and password encoder. We are using bcrypt password encoder in our application. Then instead of user detail service, we are calling our customer service. We are extending we are implementing the user detail service by using our customer service. Our customer service is talking to customer repository and our repository is talking to database to fetch the data. For registration and login, we implemented Spring Security. And today we are going to understand how to implement Spring Security by using OAuth. How to secure our applications by using OAuth. That is what we are going to learn as part of our today's session. So anybody having any idea what is OAuth and why we need to go for OAuth? What is the purpose of OAuth?
It is also for security while logging. And I don't want to give to my credential to the third party. So I want to give login with the secured credential with Google or a GitHub. For that, I want to go for the OAuth.
OAuth. All right. So what is the purpose of OAuth and why we need to go for OAuth and how to implement OAuth security in our Spring Boot application? Let us try to understand in the today's session. So we are using lot of applications in the real time. So in our daily life, we are using several applications, guys. So let me go to one application which is called Hacker Rank. So do you know what is a hacker rank here? Guys, do you know what is a hacker rank application? Come on. Do you know what is a hacker rank?
Yes, sir. It is a platform to practice the coding.
Yeah, it is an online coding platform where you can practice the coding challenges by using this hacker rank. So in order to do the coding challenges practice, I need to create my account in the hacker rank and I need to log in into my account in the hacker rank. So when I go for login option, so you want to log in for a company or you want to log in as a developer. You want to log in as a company owner or you want to log in as a developer. So click on login here. As a developer, I want to log in the system. So when I go for the login page in the hacker rank, they are asking me to enter my email ID and password for the login. They're asking me to enter email ID and password for the login. So if you don't have the account, then you need to create the account here and you need to log in. Don't have an account, then you need to sign up here. But if I go to sign up page, then what will happen? I need to give my name and I need to give my email ID, password. They may ask my phone number, etc. But I'm not interested to provide my details to the HackerRank website people. So that's where HackerRank people came up with one option called, do you want to log in with your details, or you can continue with your Google account, your LinkedIn account, GitHub account, Facebook account. If you already have the account in the Google, Gmail account, if you have, by using that Gmail account, you can log in into HackerRank website. If you have Facebook account, by using your Facebook account, you can log in into HackerRank. By using your LinkedIn account, you can log in into HackerRank. By using GitHub, by using Google, Facebook. So these are the social logins available. So every developer will have Google account, LinkedIn account, GitHub account, Facebook account. If you have the accounts in these platforms already, then you no need to create the account again in the HackerRank. By using those accounts, you can access our HackerRank. Okay, now let me click on continue with Google. So when I continue with Google, can you see in the URL what is coming here? Can you see the URL, guys? Can you see the URL with OAuth? Can you see the URL with OAuth? Come on.
Yes, we can.
Yes. Now, so I'm going to select any one of my Gmail account. So with this Gmail account, it is asking for confirmation. Continue. I logged in into my Gmail account. So with my Gmail account, I'm able to access HackerRank dashboard. Hey Ashok, welcome to HackerRank. Okay. So prepare for the job interviews like this. They're asking some details. And I'm going to give those details now and I will continue. So did I create an account? Did I create an account or I used my Google account to log in into the HackerRank?
You used a Google account.
Yes, I used my Google account to access HackerRank. Now, so let me log out. Okay, I logged out from this one. So again, I want to log in. I don't have my account to log in. I don't have account directly here. I'm going to log in by using continue with Google. So I will use my mail ID. So with this mail ID, I will try to access this HackerRank website. So with my Google account, I'm able to access a HackerRank website. So by using our social media accounts, we are able to access a HackerRank website. That's where OAuth concept comes into picture. And I will show you one more website, beauty products you can purchase in the website, which is Nykaa. So generally ladies will know about this website. Nykaa website is available where the beauty products, makeup kits, lipsticks and all we can purchase from the Nykaa. Suppose if you want to place a order for a particular product you want to purchase in the Nykaa, then go to sign in option. So here what they are saying, you can sign in by using your email ID, mobile number, or you can sign in by using Google. So when I click on Google, then again it is going to the Google page. It will ask me to log in into my Google account. With my Google account, I can log in into Nykaa website and I can place the order in the Nykaa website. Cosmetic products you can purchase from the Nykaa website. Now you see, by using my Google account, I'm able to log in into Nykaa website. So that's where the OAuth concept comes into picture. Now, how this OAuth concept is working in the background. So if you see here, if you see how these things are working in the background. So first, as a client, we are going to access one website which is called HackerRank. Okay, we want to use one website called HackerRank website. So that is used for coding practice. So I'm a developer. I want to prepare for my interviews. So I want to do the practice of problems practice I want to do. Then to do that coding practice, I am going to HackerRank website. Then in the HackerRank, if I want to do the coding practice, I need to create an account. So to create the account, I need to provide my name, my email ID, my details, my personal details, my professional details they are asking. So I'm not interested to create the account in the HackerRank. I don't want to create the account in the HackerRank. So I don't want to share my information with the HackerRank. Here, what the HackerRank is doing is, boss, if you trust us, then you can create account in our website and you can log in with your account. Suppose if you don't want to create account with us, you already have the account in the Google, right? Then by using Google, you can log in into our application. Okay, already we have Gmail account. We are using Gmail accounts, right? We know email ID password for our Google account. Gmail is product of Google. Now I will go to HackerRank. In the HackerRank, I observed that direct login is available and Google login is also available. Direct login is available, Google login is also available. So when I come here, as I am able to see the Google login, I will select Google login. When I select Google login, what will happen? HackerRank will redirect you to Google. HackerRank will redirect you to Google, saying that, hey Google, one customer want to access my website, but they are not interested to create account in my website. They are already your customers. So this person want to use a HackerRank, but don't have the account in the HackerRank. But this person having the already account in the Google. So he is already a Google customer. Okay, now he want to use a HackerRank. So but not interested to create account in the HackerRank directly. Then I go to HackerRank. I will choose continue with Google. When I choose continue with Google, what happened? HackerRank is redirected me to the Google page. HackerRank is redirecting me to the Google page. Then what Google is telling? Hey, who are you? So you tell me your Google account. Okay, Google will send the login page and I will enter my email ID and password in the Google. Okay, my credentials are validating in the HackerRank or my credentials are validating in the Google, guys? My credentials are validating in the HackerRank or my credentials are validating in the Google?
In
Where is my
Google.
account?
Google.
Where is my account?
Google account.
My account is available in the Google. So I'm going to HackerRank, but I don't have account. That's why I selected Google login. Then HackerRank is redirected me to the Google. Then Google is asking me, boss, who are you? You are saying that you are my customer. You are telling that you are my customer to the HackerRank. But could you please prove your identity? Google will send you a login page. Then you log in into your Google account. If you log in into Google account, Google will verify your details. Google will do the authentication for you. If your Google authentication is successful, then Google will identify who you are. Okay, you are my customer only, your credentials are valid. Once your authentication completed in the Google, then Google will send one token to the HackerRank website. Google will send one token to the HackerRank website. Hey HackerRank, he is my customer. I know that customer, his account is available with us. His authentication is also successful. He is a valid Google customer. This is the customer information. Google will send that customer information to the HackerRank saying that authentication successful. Once the authentication is successful, then HackerRank will send you to the dashboard page, which is a login success. So the first step here, customer will visit HackerRank website. Then customer selected Google login. So customer is redirected to the Google. Then Google is sending a login page for authentication. Customer is providing the details for the authentication. Then Google is doing the authentication of the customer. Authentication successful. After authentication successful, Google is sending a token back to the HackerRank saying that is a valid customer. If the token is received from the Google, then that customer is valid Google customer. HackerRank will provide dashboard access for you directly without login. So you see the numbering here. What is the execution flow? How OAuth security will work here? So I'm a user. I want to practice the coding here. To do the coding practice, I'm going to HackerRank website. I need to log in, but I don't have an account. I'm not interested to create the account. Then I will use Google account. I will use Google account for login into HackerRank. So first step, I will go to HackerRank. From the HackerRank, I will select Google login. Then HackerRank will redirect me to the Google for authentication. Then Google will send a login page for me for the authentication. Then I will enter my username and password in the Google. Google will verify my details and it will identify whether I am a Google valid customer or not. If I am a valid Google customer, then Google will send the customer token details to the HackerRank in the number 6. Then once the token is received from the Google, HackerRank will open dashboard page for me in the step number 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So in these 7 steps, the OAuth is executing. Because of this OAuth integration, we are able to log in into a HackerRank website with the Google account. Same thing with the GitHub, Facebook, LinkedIn also. Same concept is there in the Nika. So when you go to Nika, you can use your Google account to log in into Nika website. There are so many famous websites are available where you can use your social media accounts to access those websites. Are you able to follow me? Are you guys able to follow me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. We are following.
Can anybody explain the execution flow here? Can anybody explain the execution flow?
So I can try, sir.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. So whenever the user come to any platform, it has two options to log in, either by registering on that particular website, by entering like by registering their email, username, password, or else it can directly register himself via Google. So if we choose like currently we are going for Google registration. So whenever there is an so there will be an option to log in with Google account. So when we clicked on Google account, it the request go to the current platform, which redirect our request to the Google, and Google show us the login page, login with which email ID he like the pop-up comes. Then we log in with that particular ID by providing our password and all those. Google authenticate ourselves, and then Google uh, pass the response to the respective website with the authorized successful message. Then the current platform allow us to log in with the Google account which we use for registering, and then we are login to that particular website.
Good, sir. Correct. Good job. Now, I want to implement same kind of functionality in our Spring Boot. I want to implement the social login. Okay. So here, I'm going to develop a REST API. So if you want to access the REST API, GitHub authentication I am going to configure. So here in the HackerRank also, you have Google login, you have GitHub login, Facebook login, LinkedIn login. So I'm going to implement GitHub login in the Spring Boot. If you have account in the GitHub, then you can access our REST API. OAuth integration I'm going to do. Right. So what is OAuth? You can ask ChatGPT what is OAuth, why people are using for OAuth. Okay, stay logged out. What is OAuth? Right. OAuth is an open standard for accessing delegation, commonly used to grant third-party applications limited access to user resources without exposing their credentials. It allows users to authorize applications to perform actions on their behalf using tokens instead of passwords. Instead of I am giving a password to the HackerRank, Google will give a token to the HackerRank. If the token is received by HackerRank, then HackerRank will allow me to access that website. OAuth is a open standard mechanism which is used to control the user security. Without dealing with the passwords, just by using tokens, the customers can access third-party applications. Now, how to do this implementation? By using Spring Boot. Okay, OAuth Spring Boot with OAuth security integration. Spring Boot. Theoretically, you understand, right? What is this OAuth and all? Spring Boot with OAuth 2.0 integration. OAuth is used. OAuth stands for Open Authorization. It is used to secure our applications by using tokens instead of exposing the passwords. So customer want to access a HackerRank, but customer don't have the account in the HackerRank. Customer will use Google login. So then HackerRank will redirect the customer to Google. So Google will ask you to log in by sending a login page, and you give the credentials. Google will authenticate. If authentication successful, Google will send a token to the HackerRank. If token is received, HackerRank will allow you to access the dashboard. So now same thing. So instead of this HackerRank, I'm going to use our Spring Boot REST API, and I will keep GitHub login here. So in the same scenario, here I'm going to keep our Spring Boot application. I'm developing one Spring Boot application. So when you want to access my Spring Boot application, so I will redirect you to GitHub application. I will redirect you to the GitHub. GitHub will send you a login page for you. If you log in the GitHub with your account, if your account is valid in the GitHub, GitHub will send you a token to our SBA Spring Boot application. If token is received, then Spring Boot application will redirect you to this application, whatever that you want to access. You want to access Spring Boot application, but GitHub login is integrated with that by using OAuth. So if you log in the GitHub, then you can access my application. If you have the account in the GitHub, then you can access my application. Are you able to understand my point? Are you guys able to understand my point?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So if you have a GitHub account, then you can access my Spring Boot application. So how to do this? By using OAuth, I'm going to perform this operation. Now, in order to do this operation, guys, what is the procedure? So the first step here, create OAuth application in this GitHub. As we are using GitHub login, so the first step that I'm going to do, create OAuth application in github.com. How to create the OAuth application in the github.com? So you go to your GitHub account. So once you log into the GitHub, so go to your profile. In your profile, there is a settings option is available. So from here, you need to go to developers settings. Okay, if you go for Facebook or Google or LinkedIn, GitHub, developer settings will be available. Go to developer settings. When you go to developer settings, there is an option called OAuth applications option is available. These many OAuth applications already I have created. Now I'm going to create new OAuth application for authentication. Create new OAuth application. Application name I'm creating SBMS 45 application. Okay. Homepage URL. What is your homepage URL? 88. And what is your callback URL? I'm also using the callback URL as 80. That means from where you want to redirect to the GitHub. Once the GitHub authentication is successful, what is your callback URL? So callback URL also I'm giving 8080/8080. So whenever you send the request to this URL, then it will be redirected to the GitHub. Once the GitHub authentication is completed, then customer will be redirected to the same URL. Callback URL we are configuring. Fine. So application name, homepage URL. How I am creating the OAuth application? Go to your GitHub account, go to profile, then go to settings. In the settings sidebar, you can see one option called developer settings. So in the developer settings, select OAuth apps. So already I created several OAuth apps. Then I'm going to create one more OAuth app. App name you can give anything. I'm giving SBMS 45 application. URL of my homepage and callback URL. Once authentication successful in the Google, you want to redirect the customer to which URL? That is a callback URL. Register the application. So with this, my OAuth application is registered. When the OAuth application is registered, it generated a client ID and generate a client secret. Okay, so client ID is generated, client secret is generated. We need this client ID and we need the client secret. We need to configure them in our application. So create OAuth app in the GitHub. So this is the procedure to create the OAuth application. You log in into GitHub, you go to profile, settings, developer setting, OAuth application, create the application, copy client ID and client secret. So what is my client ID? So this is my client ID. I need these details to configure in my application. Okay, this is my client ID and let me configure my client secret also. This is client secret. Client ID and client secret I have copied. So with this, my GitHub application is ready. In that GitHub OAuth application is created. In that OAuth application, we got client ID and client secret. We have taken that client ID and client secret. Then once this process is completed, then we need to create Spring Boot application with below dependencies. Okay, so let me go and create a Spring Boot application with below dependencies. Web starter, security starter, OAuth client dependencies we are going to configure. So let me open my toolsuit IDE. So in that toolsuit IDE, I'm going to create one Spring Boot application with the given dependencies. So web starter dependency is available, security starter dependency is available, and OAuth client dependency is also available. I can create that from here also by using start.spring.io. Then I can open my IntelliJ IDEA. Right. Yes. So Maven, Java, Maven, and the latest version of the Spring Boot we are going to use. Latest version is 3.3.4. Group ID. I can use this as in.ashok IT. Artifact ID. Spring Boot. OAuth application I'm taking. And the package name I'm taking as in.ashok IT. Okay. Packaging type is a jar. Java version 17. Add the dependencies. So DevTools we are taking, and web starter we are taking, security starter we need to take, Spring Security Starter, and OAuth client also we need. So when we go for the security, OAuth client dependency we are getting. So web starter, DevTools, security starter, OAuth client dependencies generated. That project will be downloaded in the form of one zip file. Now let me go to the downloads folder and let me extract this zip file. Extract this zip file. Okay, so project got downloaded in our system. Now copy this project URL, go to VS Code IDE, and I need to import that project. Sorry, this is IntelliJ IDE. I need to import that project into IntelliJ IDEA. File, open the project, which is available in the downloads folder, OAuth application. File, open. In the downloads, OAuth application is available. Okay, I trust this project. In this window, I want to open that boot application. Yes, my OAuth app is created. It is reading the dependencies in the pom.xml, and automatically it will download the dependencies that we have added. So what are the dependencies available, guys? OAuth client dependency is available, security starter dependency available, and a web starter dependency is also available, and a DevTools dependency is also available. It is downloading all the dependencies required for our project. Okay, downloading all the required dependencies for our project. Yes, still it is going on. Downloading the required dependencies related to OAuth client. Yes, it is completed. Reload the Maven project. Again, the dependencies, if anything is not downloaded, it will download. Yeah, dependencies downloading got completed. Spring Boot application is available. Go to Java application folder. This is the start class of the Spring Boot. When you run this application, then you can see on the console. When you run the application, you can see on the console, the application will be started with the default embedded container. Okay, and the security starter is available. So basic authentication, random password will be generated. Basic authentication will be there. Random password will be generated because of that security starter available in the application. So where is the password? We have application is started. Can you see the password printed on the console? Okay, not there. Because of OAuth client, it is not generated. That's fine. Application is getting started. Now, I want to create one REST controller in this application. New Java class. I'm going to create new Java class, message REST controller. I created a Java class with a name called message REST controller. I want to represent this as a REST controller For this, I'm using @REST controller annotation. Using @REST controller annotation, and I'm writing a method public string welcome. Okay, and I'm writing one method @get mapping. The URL pattern is / and I'm returning one simple message, which is welcome to Ashok IT. Right. This is my application. Simple. One get request method available with empty URL pattern, and it is running on the port number 8080. It is running on the port number 8080. If required, we can convert this into this one. Refactor rename. I will rename this to application.yml. Instead of the properties file, we can convert this into YML file. Instead of the properties file, we are converting to YML. Spring dot application dot name. Okay, that name is optional anyhow. Instead of the properties file, I'm taking the YML file. Now let me refresh our project. My project is refreshed. We are good to go. Yeah. Let me run this application. Go to the start class and run this. Currently, OAuth is not configured, just dependency is added. I'm trying to access this application now. Application is started, running on the server is running on the port number 35729. Okay, that's live load. Port number 8080. Localhost colon 8080. So I need to use my port number localhost colon 8080. When I use localhost colon 8080, by default it is opening login page. Why it is opening the default login page? Because of security starter. I don't want to display the login page for the customer. I want to redirect the customer to the GitHub. Okay, I want to redirect the customer to the GitHub in order to authentication. Okay, if a customer is having the GitHub account, then they should be able to access our application. Okay, let me log out from GitHub. I am signing out from all my GitHub accounts. So if you have the GitHub login, then you can go to that our REST API. So how to integrate our application with the GitHub now? First, GitHub OAuth app created and Spring Boot application also created. Then I'm creating one REST controller with the methods. I created one REST controller with the required method. In the REST controller, I added one method called welcome method. Now when I access this method in the browser, I'm getting login page now. I don't want this. I want GitHub login. Okay. So then how to integrate GitHub login in our application? So to integrate the GitHub login in our application, in the YML file, we need to configure the security credentials. We already got the client ID and client secret, right? This client ID and client secret we need to configure in the GitHub account. Client ID, client secret we need to configure in our application. How to configure that? Spring security. Inside the security we are having OAuth 2. In the OAuth 2 client is available. In the client we have registration. What registration? GitHub is available. In that we have client ID and we have client secret. Whatever our client ID, client secret is available, we need to configure here. Now let me take the client ID and let me take the client secret. Okay, whatever the client ID and client secret we got, that client ID and client secret we are configuring in our YML file. So with this, my Spring Boot application will understand that we have OAuth integration with the GitHub. Now, let me run this application. Just I configured the properties in the YML file with the GitHub client ID, client secret. Then I am starting my application. Stop this and run the application again. Application stopped and I am starting my application. Application is getting started. Application started. Now go and access our application in the browser, localhost colon 8080. When I access my application, what is happening, guys? So when I access my application, what is happening now? Is it opening our login page or it is opening GitHub login page?
GitHub login page.
It is opening GitHub login page. Now, with your GitHub account, if you log in into your GitHub account, then so two-factor authentication is available for my application. Okay. So if I send the SMS, then I can access. Suppose if I use a different account which does not have the two-factor authentication, it is asking for authorize, allow the application. Now my login is successful. Then I am able to redirect back to my application. You got my point? When I send the request to my application, GitHub login page is coming. When I log in into my GitHub account, then it is redirecting me back to my REST API. So now let me show you once again. GitHub login is available. I logged in into GitHub. Let me log out. Sign out from all the accounts in the GitHub. Close the browser and open again and try to access the application once again. Try to access the application once again, localhost colon 8080. So when I access the application, localhost colon 8080, when I access, what is happening, guys? Is it going to our REST API and giving the response, or it is redirecting to the GitHub login page?
GitHub login.
So it is redirecting to the GitHub login page. So that means as a customer, I'm sending the request to my REST API. As a customer, as a user, I'm sending the request to my Spring Boot application. That is step number 1. So I'm sending the request to the Spring Boot application, step number 1. Then what the Spring Boot application is doing now? I'm sending the request to Spring Boot application. Then what Spring Boot application is doing now?
GitHub, sir.
Spring Boot application is redirecting me to the GitHub login. How the Spring Boot application knows that I'm using GitHub login? Because in our Spring Boot application YML file, I configured the OAuth client registration as a GitHub. That means I want to use GitHub login to allow the customers to access my application. GitHub client ID, client secret I have configured. So my application will redirect the customer request to the GitHub. When the request is redirected to the GitHub, what GitHub is doing now? GitHub is sending login page back to the customer. Then customer will give the GitHub login details, authentication details, username and password. I am giving my GitHub account username and password to the GitHub. Then GitHub is going to validate my credentials. They are valid or not. If my credentials are valid, then GitHub will send a token to the Spring Boot. Then my Spring Boot application verified that okay, this person successfully logged in the GitHub. That means he is a valid GitHub customer. If he is a valid GitHub customer, then he can access my application. Then that application redirected to that welcome message method. Callback URL we configured. Once your GitHub authentication successful, the callback URL will be called, which is redirected to our welcome method, which is sending the response back to the client. How the Google login is available? We implemented GitHub login. How come websites are having Google login? In the same way, I have implemented GitHub login now by using OAuth. So it's very simple.
If you have multiple URLs also, it's possible, sir. Like
yes, sir. Only one callback URL you need to configure. Once your authentication is successful, which page you want to display to the customer, you will redirect the customer to that page.
Sir, can
Yes, sir.
we provide both options? One is normal login and the other one is Google, like how you developed for your website.
Yes. So if we this is a REST API, There is no UI available in the REST API. So when you have the UI page, right? So what we will do in the UI page? So we will display the UI page. In that UI page, we will give you a button. Normal login button we will provide, and GitHub login button also we will provide. So if you have the UI, then you will design a page like this in the UI. In that UI page, login form will be available. Below the login, GitHub icon will be available. So here like this you can implement login, normal login in the UI, and you can give the GitHub. So when they enter normal details, your database details will be verified. In the database, the record is available or not, will verify. Whenever they click on the GitHub, then only it will be redirected to the GitHub page. Now GitHub login page is coming for us. So if you log in, either your GitHub account, if they are valid, then you will be redirected back to HackerRank. Same thing we are doing here also. When the customer comes, they will go to our boot. Customer is accessing our boot application. Our boot application integrated with the GitHub using OAuth. That's why whenever you send the request to localhost colon 8080, directly you are redirecting to GitHub login. So then whenever your request comes to the Spring Boot, redirecting the customer to the GitHub. GitHub is sending a login page for the customer. Customer should log in the GitHub page with the GitHub account username and password. So your Git credentials will be validated in the GitHub server. If the validation is successful, GitHub will send you a token to the Spring Boot application. Then Spring Boot application is, once the token is received by the Spring Boot, it is redirecting the customer to the callback URL we configured in the GitHub application. Our callback URL is what? /message we have given, /. So whenever you send the request to this method, you will be redirected to the GitHub. Once your authentication completed in the GitHub, we configure the callback URL, customer will be redirected to the same method. With that same method, we are going to get this message as a response. Step number 7, callback method will be executed. We will get the response from the REST API.
Suppose
Now,
post mapping
customer,
and slash many URLs are there, sir. In that case, also one
same,
time authentication, sir.
only
Suppose,
one time authentication, yes.
but we need not configure all the URLs in the callback URLs in the GitHub, sir, right, sir?
No, only one call, only dashboard page will display.
Okay, dashboard only. Then in that we are configuring like a post URL, get URL. Like.
Correct. So this is one technique that companies are using to allow the users to access the websites with third-party logins. So here, what is the process that we are following for Spring Boot with OAuth 2? We create one OAuth app in the GitHub. Whenever you create the OAuth app, client ID, client secret will be generated. You need to take that client ID and client secret, guys. Then you create a Spring Boot application with these dependencies. Then create one REST controller with the method. So here only one method is available. Then whatever the client ID, client secret we have taken, we are going to configure them in our properties file or YML file. Then we will run the application and we will test it. Now I want you people to implement one assignment. Okay, how I have implemented how I have implemented the GitHub authentication for accessing the REST API. I want you to implement Google authentication. Spring Boot with OAuth using Google account, get username also from the Google and display that in the response. So when customer access your REST API, it should be redirected to the Google login. Once you log in into the Google account, then it should be redirected to the REST API. How we have done the OAuth with GitHub, I want you people to do the OAuth with Google login. Are you able to understand my point?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah.
So with this, does it restrict accessing direct URL? If we go with this?
Yes.
Okay.
Excuse me, sir.
Hmm.
Yeah, after a successful login, so the user session is maintained by whom, like our application or the logged in application like GitHub or Google?
After authentication successful, once you got the response from the Google or GitHub, their work is done. You need to manage that.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
So one question. That
Yeah.
hello.
Yes, sir. Tell me.
Yeah. So for project we are suppose working for a client project. So client GitHub account we generate some generate keygen,
Sir, this
then
client
copy
ID,
that.
this client ID, client secret, this is a one-time process. Sir, any GitHub account details we can configure. That's not problem.
No, that I was asking is that we generate some secret key on keygen generate, then we paste then on that GitHub token generation. It that also kind of auth login,
Yes, auth login.
but there is no third party. Na? Directly we are doing for only we are user, and directly we are only avoiding username and password only with that token access, right?
That I mean, when you are committing to the code to the GitHub direct through token, you are committing. So that is not OAuth. OAuth is basically to access one application using other application credentials. That's where OAuth comes. When you
Okay.
are doing the code commit to the GitHub token, you are using without password. That is different story.
Okay, that is not
That is not OAuth.
Oh, okay. That one last question. I was going through yesterday lecture. So there I saw we are using some user detail service for some our
Loading
find
the
by
user
email
record.
method.
To load the user record from the database, we are using user detail service.
Hello, sorry.
To load user record from the database table, we are using user detail service.
So that I was asking is here we are using not primary key we primary we are going with email which is not primary ID. So if we go with predefined like find by all or whatever, then also we will use same way like custom
So you
custom
can
repo
write
dot find by all.
in that method, you can write any logic. That method purpose is based on the given email ID, you need to identify the record from the database. You can write any logic inside. Logic is your choice.
Okay.
Okay, what the main purpose of that method? It should retrieve the user data based on the given mail ID or username, and it should return the user record along with the username and password. Based on that, it will compare that the password is matching or not. If the password is matching, it is valid. If password is not matching, invalid. That comparison will be taken care by authentication manager in the background.
Okay.
In this OAuth, is there any session management, sir, till some session?
No,
Because
sir. Whenever we are talking about the REST API, there is no concept of session.
session. But
When we
here,
are
if you
talking
close
about
the
the REST
browser, sir,
API,
automatically we need to relog in, sir. If you close the browser.
yes. So the session management will happen at the front end, not at the back end.
Okay, sir. Okay.
So backend, our microservices are stateless. Every request
Yes,
is
sir.
a new request for the microservice. If you want to remember any customer data, the session management will happen in the front end, not in the back end.
Okay, sir. Okay. And we need not configure like a OAuth manager like that, sir. Any classes or
No,
like.
not required. All good, guys. Thank you. So please go through this OAuth application development and try to practice this. And the next topic that we need to learn in the Spring Security, which is JWT. So that is very, very important concept to understand. How to secure Spring Boot applications by using JWT. Last Sunday, we conducted one workshop on the JWT security. So did you learn anything on the last Sunday? Did you understand anything about JWT? What is JWT and why we need to go for JWT? What is JWT and why we need to go for JWT, guys?
Is a token based authentication. It is more.
Yes, JWT is basically a token based authentication, guys. So JWT nothing but JSON web tokens. So when we are securing the microservices, so mainly we are going to use JWT tokens to authenticate and authorize the user requests in our application. Okay, how to work with the JWT tokens and how to implement the JWT in the Spring Boot, we will discuss in the Monday session. Tomorrow Dasara, it is a holiday, guys. Sunday also we don't have a class. We have the next class on Monday. Monday we will learn about Spring Boot with JWT concept. Okay. Is this clear for everyone?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Good. Thank you, guys. So
Or
with this,
in Google also we can create OAuth.
yes, sir. So Google develop you need to open Google developer settings. There you can create.
Okay, sir.
And you can create OAuth application in the Facebook also, LinkedIn also, GitHub also. GitHub I have shown you. So in the same way, you can create in the Google, Facebook, LinkedIn. Developer settings you need to open.
Okay, sir.
So previously in the Ashok IT website also Google login is available, but I removed it in the new website. I will add it again. So in the Ashok IT, Google login is there.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, fine, guys. So next topic is JWT. We will discuss in the next Monday. Thank you, guys.